Spaniards because an Englishman named Charles said that they could be called that to be able to have access to lands owned by Moors in a decree. But it was at the time put out to help Moors who found themselves at a disadvantage under the decree of Philip II, who wanted to fulfill the imposition situation to keep them in power and keep their money. And so he said that, they couldn't be known as Moors anymore. So to combat that, Charles, who was in tight with Moors at the time, was like, okay, well, if he's saying that, then I'll put out an edict that says that any Moors who could not be called Moors anymore could now be known as Spaniards or Frenchmen. We read this in a book called Wild Frenchmen, Wild Indians and Frenchified, Wild Irishmen and Frenchified Indians. See what I'm saying? Remember, race itself, the concept of race itself, we read, was created by Charles V. See what I'm saying? He's the one that did it. Up until then, everybody was basically the same until what separated them was their clan affiliation. You know what I'm saying? And so, based upon that, him creating different races, if you could create different races, then you could create different nations that up until now did not exist. We have to remember, whenever we talking to these scholars and these people, they start talking about what the Moors had and didn't have, it's what Spain took from them. What we have to remember is that there was no Spain in 1492. We have to remember that there was no England in 1492. These things were not places necessarily on paper. They were corporate or aggregate possessions of one family. Look at the movie The Kingsman that just came out. Great movie. You know what I'm saying? Didn't really get into the black man, but of course they not. They just showed a scene with why he met him and why he felt indebted to him, because again, he was a white man who came in and killed all his people, and they was all turbaned up and all that. But regardless, in the movie, it shows the relationship between the King of Russia, the original relationship between the King of Russia, the King of Germany, and the King of England, and the deterioration of what led to the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand, which I've talked about before. And at the time, it showed you that they were all cousins, and they all had rivalries, and they was little kids, and when they got older, those rivalries became, real. And they used real people to deal with it. So one of the things that they would always do was use decoys. You know what I'm saying?